What is up, everybody? I'm NoLexGiven here with your afternoon snap, and today I wanted to go through a gold conquest game. This was the final round of a gold conquest, and I thought it was a pretty great match. So just want to run through all of these games here and talk about some of my decision making, but also just show off some fun and competitive games of Marvel Snap. So we're going to start things off by snapping as we drop Iceman into Quantum Tunnel, and I've got a really good curve this game beyond the fact that we're going to make great use of Quantum Tunnel. Got the turn 2 Medusa, then turn 3 I actually have my choice of different ramp options here with both Electro and Wave, setting up for Black Panther, and I can throw away Electro into the Quantum Tunnel, though it won't matter too much because both players can only play one card per turn because of the Sandman regardless. I was actually thinking here, if you are my opponent, if you are Lunch Money, do you just stop playing this game and see how many more cards your opponent will play and how much more information you can get while not playing anything yourself? I thought that could have been a pretty cool heads up play, but my opponent is still gonna try to make something happen here. They drop an Ironheart, a naked Ironheart into Muir Island, and at this point I'm thinking, oh gosh, they really have nothing. They should have stopped playing this game because I'm giving them information for games for the next games, and they can always retreat on turn 6 and they're gonna lose 2 cubes regardless. But they decide to play and stay in it, more power to them. Then they play a Wong on their Ironheart. Kind of the wrong order for that play in general, though there are some things that you can do with that combination of cards sometimes. And on turn 5, I'm going to drop Arnim Zola into my Black Panther location and give myself 2 24 power Black Panthers thanks to Wakandan Embassy. So I'm doing pretty good. My opponent Spider-Woman's me over in the Wakandan Embassy, so they're winning that location by 11. Then I draw Magneto, which is actually a fantastic draw for what I realize my opponent might actually be trying to do this game. And luckily we have priority, so we get to move Ironheart and Wong out of the way of my opponent's 6-turn Odin, which could have been absolutely devastating. I don't know how many triggers that would have done, but it would have been a whole bunch. And we're in for a spicy match here as we're both playing kind of fun decks. I've got the Arnim Zola Black Panther, we both got Odin. We can both do some crazy stuff in this one. I'm playing, it's kind of like a stock list. I mean, it won a tournament. I've been showcasing it for the past week and a half or so on this channel. I definitely do like this deck, and my opponent's deck is a little bit wackier, I would say, but they're able to do some really good stuff in this match, and I was really impressed with their deck. I might even give it a shot, and we'll see what they're able to put together. So in this one, they've got the turn 2 Zabu into Sewer System. Westview and Monster Metropolis are our other 2 locations, and we have the turn 3 Electro, so I'm feeling good. We can go Electro into Arrow, Doctor Doom, Odin for some nice stuff here, and we might need to. My opponent has Wong, so moving my opponent's cards around and being a little bit tricky with that could be really important. I'm not going to want to move the cards into Kunlun, but I might want to just play Arrow into Sewer System this turn to stop whatever my opponent is doing, and that's a snap. Probably that was a snap from my opponent. I think it was red, but it was a little hard to tell in the replay. I don't think I would have snapped just to having Arrow Odin in this one, though. Arrow Doctor Doom Odin is a pretty good curve. Now, like I said, with priority this turn, my opponent is going to get to double Ironheart me, but they won't be able to Odin in that location to finish off the game. So I am feeling somewhat confident about what we might be able to do in this one. And like I said, I'm just going to set up for this big Doctor Doom play. But my opponent has a pretty good play here for turn 5 as well. We moved their Ironheart out of their Wong location, but they've got a backup. Wong plan, and it might not be exactly what you're thinking it could be. Let me see, do I have to fast forward a little bit? I'll jump ahead. They have you just saw it there, they've got an Absorbing Man to copy that Ironheart. So this is a pretty sweet play by them. They're gonna get 2 more Ironheart triggers, pump up their team, potentially retaining priority even with, they're gonna be just barely beating us in the sewer system. And this is awkward now, because now my opponent has priority going into the final turn, which means if they drop their Odin, I'm not going to be able to arrow it over first with my Odin. So because of this, I think I have to retreat. Odin into Wong, Absorbing Man, I think it's just too much. I don't really know exactly how the interaction works, but I don't care to find out either. So I think we just have to get out of this one and take our 2 cube loss. So I'm going to do a slow retreat there, and now we are still winning, but 8-6, and we will jump into game 3 with that. So on game 3, round 3 rather, we've got Black Panther, Magneto, and Iceman. First location, Pet Mansion. First draw is going to be Medusa. So reasonable curve here. Iceman could throw my opponent off though. Based off what we've seen, my opponent doesn't seem super keen to spend all of their energy every turn regardless, but we do have a nice curve now with Wave to allow us to play that turn 4 Magneto, or turn 4 something else. So this is good. I think potentially just debating if I want to snap there, but we'll drop Medusa into the kiln. That gives us a lot of power early on, a lot of pressure, and my opponent plays a Psylocke, and then we see we've got Asteroid M as location number 3. So don't really have an option this turn. We're just gonna wave into the Asteroid M. I believe that was a snap for... I gotta go back and look at that one. The last game definitely was a snap for my opponent, but okay, this one was a snap for me. Yeah. I thought just with a reasonable curve here, we could kind of get away with this. Now, I think that part of the reason that I was snapping, as I'm like playing the wave around here, I wasn't thinking about Asteroid M necessarily, and I was trying to potentially set myself up with a Black Panther Arnim Zola, but now it gets a little bit tricky because if we want to play the Black Panther, we have to play it to a location where my opponent already has some cards, which means that, or where I already have some cards rather, sorry, brain fart there as I was thinking through this turn. I'm going to Magneto into the kiln just for as much power as I could possibly muster. It is going to move in the Typhoid Mary, but I think that's actually a pretty good thing because now my opponent has just wasted all of that power in the kiln. So I think we're doing pretty good. The only awkward thing is Arnim Zola. I don't have an open location where I can like guaranteed hit my Black Panther, but still this turn probably have to go for Black Panther. I could play Sandman. It's a lot of power to give up, and from what I've seen, my opponent is probably only going to wind up really wanting to play Odin on the final turn of the game anyways, so I don't really care that much to Sandman them and lock them into one play, because their best play, especially, you can see, this is quite clear, my opponent's best play on the final turn of the game is going to be to drop an Odin into that Wong Mystique location. They do also have a Luke Cage. They're going to use that to get rid of that minus effect from Typhoid Mary. And now I've got to see, well, I guess if they just drop Odin into the Wong Mystique location, they're not actually doing that great. And I'm thinking this is probably like a hazmat at this point. But if we Arnim Zola and hit the Black Panther, that's so much power, and we can potentially even just play around the hazmat, so I'm going to go for it. I always stay in it for a 50-50. Unfortunately, though, we hit Iceman, so we're not going to be able to have that much power in Asteroid M, and it's actually a Spectrum play for my opponent. I told you their deck was spicy, so now they are going to 4x Spectrum me, which is going to give them a win in Kiln, and definitely a win in Asteroid M. Actually, we tie in Kiln, but they blow me out in Asteroid M on differential there, so I will now be losing in cubes 6-4 as we move into game 4. That was a pretty sweet one. Gotta give my opponent the fist bump for that, despite the fact that I am down in cubes, which No, that's a topic for another video. But if I'm gonna fist bump, I'm gonna do it when I've lost the game. A lot of people seem to really like fist bumping after they've won a game, but yeah, I'll reserve my full thoughts on that maybe for another day, or you can bug me about it on a stream or something. So this game we've got Mini Lab, Strange Academy. I've got 2 of my ramp options though, so seems pretty good. I can go Electro into Devil Dinosaur, or potentially Wave into Odin Wave to like lock them into not being able to play too many cards per turn. But like I said, that doesn't seem super effective against my opponent's deck, and now we're getting to see a little bit more of my opponent's deck as well. Ant-Man into Strange Academy. They've got a little bit of a Spectrum sub-theme going on with Typhoid Mary being an interesting but pretty powerful ongoing card, especially when combined with Luke Cage and some of the other minus power effects that you can also use, which is why they're playing Luke Cage, presumably. So turn 3, we do have an interesting decision to make, whether or not we want to go Electro or Odin, and or Electro or Wave, and there's a weird thing going on this game where if you wave, you shut down the ability to play into the big house, but that's not that great because Strange Academy is still available. So a little bit awkward. My opponent is going to snap here, but I still like my curve well enough that I'm going to stick in it here with the ability to drop a big Devil Dinosaur and hopefully some other big cards off the top. But if we need to, later on in the game, we can use Wave to lock down the big house in kind of an interesting way. Now, one of the awkward things with Mini Lab, since no cards can get added there, it's really not a great location for this deck. It shuts down Dr. Doom and Arnim Zola on turn 5, which is typically when you want to play those cards, so that way you can get more value out of them with Odin, generally, is the idea. So we don't get to make great use of them. We don't get to make the best use of Dr. Doom Odin. We could still just play Dr. Doom, though if we play it on turn 5, it's going to be awkward for a number of reasons. It's not going to add to the Mini Lab, and then it's actually going to fill us up in the big house. So I think I'm just going to go for Black Panther here. It's a little bit less power than Dr. Doom, but then I'm saving Dr. Doom for the final turn of the game. And we'll see what my opponent has got going on. They are going to be filling up the big house with this final play into Strange Academy. That's going to be Spider-Woman. So now my opponent has a pretty big lead on me in the big house, but we'll see if we are able to overcome that with a Doombot, or, well, we can't overcome it with Dr. Doom, but maybe with a Doombot it would be possible. Yeah, it's really close. We are only losing by 1 after we play our card for turn. So we'll be able to win that location with Dr. Doom, and then my opponent has to play cards to both Strange Academy and Mini Lab. So I feel like Dr. Doom can actually just get it done here. And if my opponent only plays 1 card, I'm feeling good. It's Spectrum, but we played around it, I guess. I mean, we actually, I just wanted to break this down a little bit because I was actually thinking of this at the time. No matter where my opponent plays their Spectrum, we win. If they played their Spectrum in the center location, then we have a differential of 5-0 to their differential of 25 to 28. So we would have got this win regardless. I just wanted to break that down. And if they played like Odin or something, if they were only able to, I think we had them covered from all angles here is basically what I'm getting at, because it's pretty tough to just add 5 power to a location and add 4 power to a location from my opponent's deck, from what impression I was getting there. So we are going to grab 4 cubes, and with that, we will have the cube advantage. We'll be up 4-2 going into high stakes mode, going into round 5, which is our first round of high stakes mode. So we're playing for 2 cubes. My opponent no longer has the ability to snap. Nobody has the ability to snap. We're just playing for 2 cubes. I gotta win one of the next 2 games. This game or the next game. I just gotta win one of them. My opponent has to win both of them. Pretty straightforward stuff. The snap mechanic is no more. We see our second location is Attilan, and I do have Wave. so I could wave into the Attilon and see what happens. It's really going to be my only option. There is an interesting decision point, I believe, in this game. Oh, no. Okay, I don't draw Electro. No decision to be had here. We're waving it up. If you were to draw Electro on this turn, I do think that it becomes kind of interesting, like what are you going to draw and how do you best plan for that, but I'm just going to go for the wave into the Attilon. That is pretty straightforward, and now I'm hoping to draw Dr. Doom. That would probably be the best thing that I could draw, but I would also take like Magneto just for a ton of power here. And we've got Arrow off the top. That's probably going to be the play. I'm going to try to bunk my opponent in the Shadowland so that way I can take over that location and win it with either Sandman or Devil Dinosaur. And interestingly, my opponent decides to play to Shadowland themselves. That's because they've got Spider-Woman. So now I'm actually losing by 10 in Attilon. Wasn't exactly what I was thinking would happen, but I guess it does make sense since it was a wave turn anyway. So point being, it's actually kind of difficult for me to win in Attilon unless I draw Arnim Zola. Then we can Arnim Zola the Black Panther over and probably just win in both Attilon and in the Bifrost. So that's what I'm going to go for. My opponent has Luke Cage plus Psylocke, setting up well into the final turn. I'm going to flip over that Black Panther, which gives me a nice little lead here. Then off the top for the final turn, my draw is Dr. Doom. And while this isn't obviously as good as Arnim Zola would be, I still think it's actually enough here. We're winning by 5 currently in Shadowland, which means a Doombot will be us winning by 9, which is more than Odin, and we can tie in Odin if they were to play that in the Bifrost. And if my opponent just plays a Spectrum in Shadowland, then we've also got that win as well with 12 power in that location. So I thought my bases were pretty well covered there despite losing pretty big in Attilon. We are able to get the full match win, and with that we will also snag ourselves an Infinity ticket. So just thought this was a really fun match, a lot of back and forth, my opponent playing a pretty cool deck here, and of course with the Infinity ticket flex there, wanted to show off at the end. But for today, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lux Given. Peace.